I'm not really worried about the future of storytellers like myself, because as long as humanity exists in the world, you will always have need for storytellers. African hats were designed, it's a mud hat, and then, they have a thatched roof.
Kanyoni kajage kogwachana medako.
Okay.
Hi guys, welcome to my channel. For those of you who are new here, my name is Wanjiru Waithaka, and I'm a published author based in Kenya. And welcome to the third episode in the gratitude series, It Takes a Village. And the reason I called it that is because in Africa we have a saying that it takes a village to raise a child. And with this series, I want to demonstrate that it also takes a village to raise an author. We're back at the beautiful 2-bedroom apartment, which is part of the Feather Residences, managed by Triana. And I'd just like to say a big thank you to my good friend Mwendemuna and her sisters Mutheu and Samantha for hosting us in this space. As I mentioned, I am a published author. I have written 8 books. I'm working on book number 9. And 3 of those books are novels, so I'm a fiction writer. And then one is a biography where I have profiled different Kenyan entrepreneurs. And then the rest are books that I have ghostwritten for my clients. So a lot of people who met me after I finished university always get very, very surprised that I write novels, because I did BCom. And then later I did an MBA at the University of Nairobi, and they wonder that is quite a stretch from doing a business degree and then to now writing fiction. And my answer to that is I come from a family of storytellers. One of those storytellers is my late dad, Martin Thuku Waithaka. I'll be talking about him in a later video. And the other one who I want to talk about is, I think, the one who instilled in me a love of storytelling, and that is my grandmother, Hannah Radhoni, and she passed on in January last year at the age of 109. So in the last few years of her life, my shosho had become very, very cantankerous. And I attribute that to, I think she was just tired of life. I mean, I know people don't like to say it, but kuna miaka inafika and some people just get tired and they are fed up. So maybe she had reached there. But the grandmother I choose to remember, and the one I remember with fondness, is the grandmother of my childhood. We lived in Langata. That's where I grew up for most of my childhood. And so she would come visiting, as a lot of grandmothers do, bearing goodies from the village, sweet potatoes, arrowroots, maize, all of that. But what I remember, I really used to look forward to those visits, because when she's around, we used to cook with firewood when we are cooking githeri. We would cook gas for the rest of the food, but githeri would cook. We had this outside jiko, with the 3 stones and the clay pot. You know what that is. So what she would do is she would always, she really, really enjoyed roasting, green bananas, just a little bit ripe. And she would also roast for us sweet potatoes, and she would also roast for us maize. And let me tell you, man, that food tasted fantastic. I don't know whether it was because it's the shosho who is roasting it for you, or it was the stories she was telling as she was roasting. I just don't know. But those are some of the fondest memories of my childhood. In the evenings, she would always be telling us stories. I remember I was discussing this with my older sister, Agi, the other day, and she didn't seem to remember that, bit of things of the storytelling. But me, I really, really remember. And what I remember is every story had a song, which made it all the more fun. And some of those stories, I don't even remember what the story was about, but I still remember the song. One of the stories that I remember, and as I said, okay, I don't remember the story, but I have never forgotten the song. So I will sing it, and maybe in the comments, someone who knows what story this song was attached to can educate all of us in the comment. So it went something like this. Kanyoni kaja gekogwacha na medako. Ta kolia tere wameshore watidako. Ta tidakairi. Dati dakairi giaragania meregete, meregete nadina ino kia madoko, magwairi aine, washoso wa kamero kia mero. Yeah, that climax, we would shout that climax. So yeah, if you are a Kikuyu from the Kikuyu community like me, and you know what story was attached to that song, please let me know, because I'd really like to discover it.
My favorite story that she used to tell us, and I would always tell her to keep repeating it over and over and over again. And I like this story so much. I even put it in my third novel, Silencing, was a story about a blacksmith. Now, the short version of this story is something like this. There was a blacksmith who had a heavily pregnant wife, and he went away to work in the forest. And then while he was away, an ogre came, just I guess like a huge giant, came and held his wife captive. And of course, when you're pregnant, you need to eat well. So this ogre would torture her by cooking and eating in front of his wife and not sharing anything with her. And she became very thin and weak. Now, this wife, his wife, the blacksmith's wife, had a little bird that she was friends with. I think it was a dove. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. So she sent this dove with a message to her husband. Please go and warn him to come and save me from this ogre. And so the little bird flew off and went to the forest, found the nearest tree and perched on the branch, and then started singing. And it sang and it sang and it sang, and of course the blacksmith and his friends just ignored the little bird. But the little bird did not give up. It kept on singing and singing until finally one of these men looked up. He's like, wait a minute, that sounds like important. So he tapped the blacksmith and he's like, Ebuskiza Kanini. So he listened and then he realized, oh, that's a message. So he quickly left his work. He grabbed his biggest axe. He went to the house. Okay, then he climbed up into the rafters. African huts were designed, it's a mud hut. And then, they have a thatched roof. And then there was this part in the rafters where they used to store like provisions, like dried food and what have you. So the blacksmith climbed into the rafters and then waited until the ogre came in. So he did the usual, ate in front of the wife, didn't give her anything, and then he waited until it slept. And then he climbed down and grabbed his spear or his machete, I can't remember which one, and he stabbed the ogre, killing it. So, of course, the story had a happy ending. And, of course, there was the song that the little bird sang. So, by no means a soloist, but I will attempt to sing for you the song. So it went something like this. Turana Russia, Garaisha, Motumia Sierra, Garaisha, Asiaridio, naming Moisa, Garaisha. And the bird just kept repeating over and over and over and over that song until the blacksmith paid attention. So, as you can see, I came from a family of storytellers, my grandmother being among the first. And I think she instilled in me a love of storytelling in all its forms. I mean, the African way, before, the age of internet and books and writing and all of that, or even telephones and TV, okay? Stories were passed on from one generation to the next through oral storytelling. So you'd find people in the evenings, usually around, after the evening meal had been done, and then the elders would sit and surrounded by the children, and they would tell them these stories, and they would sing the songs. And then, of course, once the children were of age, they would sing to their own children, and how those stories were passed on and on and on and on. Okay. Now, of course, we do it differently because, as I said, we have, with the internet, you can post a story on a blog and somebody in India can click on it and read it even before someone in Nairobi has actually read that story. We have video, we have telephone, we have TV. But oral storytelling, I think, remains one of the most powerful forces, I think, in the world. And I suspect, I want to suggest that the rise of podcasting, because podcasting has become such a big thing, is almost like a modern reinvention of oral storytelling. So I'm so glad when I see people, young and old, just sharing their experiences, their hopes, their dreams, their fears. All you have to do is even just with your camera, and you just set it up and you just start recording. Okay, voice only. And now we have all of these platforms. We have YouTube, we have Spotify, where people can, tell their stories. I know, like with this, like now the economy is so bad, people are being laid off, businesses are not doing well. But I'm not really worried about the future of storytellers like myself, because as long as humanity exists in the world, you will always have need for storytellers. I mean, we have the hunters and gatherers who I mean, humans have this very, very powerful drive to tell their stories, to be able to say, I was here to whoever, comes after them. And so we have the hunters and gatherers, they drew on caves. And then we have people like my grandmother, they passed on the traditions and the customs, of their communities through oral storytelling and singing. And now we have people like me who have taken it a step further. And now we are writing books, which for the most part will outlive us. So anyway, I just wanted to thank my grandmother, okay, although she's no longer with us, for just giving me this love of stories and storytelling, which has opened doors for me. It has helped me in so many ways. And just to give one very, very practical example, I started this video by pointing out that I did become an MBA. So you'd wonder how someone who did a business degree and writing fiction, how those two sort of blend together. But they do. Because in many ways, when you're talking about writing your autobiography, it is a real life story about who you are, where you started, from your birth to the schools you attended, to your career. And it will be a very, very dry, history can be very dry, the way history texts are written. But the really best biographies are always written with a creative element. So I am in a pole position to be able to inject just that little bit of fiction and storytelling, and just to be able to weave a narrative that will keep people turning those pages. And I'm saying this because people have actually told me that they enjoy my books because of that, including the book that I have illustrated. So I just want to thank God for my grandmother, because she gave me a gift that I didn't even know I needed until decades later. And I am just thankful for her life and her stories. And yeah, so thank you so much to Triana for hosting us at the Federal Residency. I hope you will be visiting us soon for all your work projects, your meetings, or even just doing a shoot like this, or even just a birthday shoot. It's a fantastic, beautiful space, very convenient to access. I will leave the link to their website in the description box so you can check it out. So thank you so much for spending time with me. I will catch you on the next one. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe so you don't miss out on upcoming videos, and share this video so that other people may discover my work. So I'll catch you on the next one. Until then, remember, whatever you do, whatever breakthroughs achieve, you keep practicing.